So yesterday we come into work and to our surprise we had a zebra foal that had been born.
You know, I can't remove the arthritis, but are they happy enough? You're not my biggest fan, are you? Hey? Good lad. To me, it feels a little bit thinner than when I last.
He was just really struggling to breathe.
You gonna have a little walk? Apart from the meds he's already on the antifungals, on the nebulising, he's on everything else. Realistically, where do we go from there?
So we have vet visits every single week, at least once a week, sometimes more if there's something that needs looking at sooner. So our vet is great, he's called Jack. It does take a couple hours every week, but it's always really interesting and we always end up learning something new, which is nice. This morning they were over in the corner. Hey Didi!
Oh, still wet in here, isn't it? Hey?
Hello!
Hey.
I think she might have lost a little bit of weight to her. I think she has.
Yeah.
What's going on, Didi? What's going on?
Have a little walk for me? What do you reckon? You gonna have a little walk? There we go. You know, she's a bit stiff on there. I mean, with arthritis, it does tend to be worse after she's been resting, in the mornings. And during the day, you can warm out that a little bit and become a bit more comfortable. But we're trying to just adjust the medication that she's on. We want her to be comfortable, but we don't want to put her on so much that it's causing other problems. But she's outlived the age that she'd be in the wild. Obviously, they live a little bit longer in captivity, but it's that balance of if we can keep her comfortable enough, and she's got a good quality of life here. So the keepers are regularly assessing that. They're assessing how uncomfortable or comfortable she is, how much she's eating, her body condition, all these sort of things. So just indicators of how well she's getting on in general. But she's doing, she's a tough old girl, definitely. But we're just in the process of just reassessing how we manage her at the minute. It's that balance of when you make that call, really. If I can't remove the arthritis, but are they happy enough, and can we keep them comfortable enough? It's the same as your old dog as well, isn't it? Like when it's time. They don't have a huge amount of stress here at all, so they've got a pretty easy life. So it's one that how much they can cope with. But yeah. They're just two old geriatrics, aren't they? Yeah, really. You've got time to react there. It's like
We also checked over Howard today. Howard is our young alpaca male. Last week we sheared the alpaca, so we took off a lot of wool. And sometimes when you shear animals, you can kind of get a little bit of a better look at them. So Howard was sheared and we just thought maybe he's not looking as good as he possibly could do. He's not fully grown yet, so it's just good to get the vet in to check over.
Hey Howard, hey. Hey guys. Hey, let's just have a little feel of you, hey? Let's just have a little feel, hey? Hey. He's okay. I mean, we could always up him a little bit. I mean, one thing might be just to check a fecal sample, just do a worm egg count for the the time of year it is. Just make sure they're not. Make sure that things aren't creeping up. Hey, should we just have a little look in your? Check your teeth, eh? Good lad. Good lad. Hey. Can the other two looking all right? Hey? Yeah, little one. Hey. No, she looks grand, doesn't she? Hey. You're not my biggest fan, are you? Hey?
She's a good one, she's my favourite. Which ones? Yeah, Chikorito and Alpaca. And Howie.
Yeah. We're just sort of body condition scoring, so we're just checking weights essentially, and the easiest way is looking over, over the spine and just checking the amount of muscle and the amount of sort of body weight over there. Well, we'll check we'll check a fecal sample. We'll check that there's no any worm burdens in there or anything that's going to be an underlying cause of sort of weight loss. Like he's not, he could do with putting on a little bit more, but he's not one that I'm concerned about at the minute. But we regularly check these samples anyway, just to make sure they're not, things aren't getting too wormy or. Here we go. Always the troublemaker, eh? So are Oran's chicks in here, or is it? Yeah.
So we had 2 of our penguin chicks checked over today as well. They are siblings and they hatched on the same day, but there was a significant difference in size with them. They don't seem to be underweight or anything that we can see, but I just wanted you to check over them.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Hey?
More this one, I think, because it hatched on the same day.
Yeah.
We just have been keeping a close eye on the smaller one because it did take a little bit longer to come out of the shell than its sibling. And even though it is growing, it is a little bit smaller than its sibling.
Hey, little thing, hey?
That's when I sent a picture of it.
Hey. Let's have a little look, hey? Have they taken any fish off you yet, Reese? Have they? Or?
Got a couple into the big one last night.
Yeah.
This one, not yet.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's have a little listen, hey? Good lad.
Noisiest morning. It was just nice to get the vet to check over and just give us peace of mind as well, and just so if he gives us any advice or anything like that, we can just follow it.
And condition feels fine. If we can get a few extra weights off them, maybe doing that every other day or something, just to make sure they're not dropping any weight while I move over to fish. But it's just going to be encouraging as much, fish off the keepers rather than fish off Belle, essentially, I guess. And Belle, how's Belle doing? Is she?
She's fine, I think.
Yeah, in this one, I think.
Yeah.
The other one, yeah. Hey. Oh, little thing. Hey. I say little thing.
Female.
Hey. You're right, hang on just for a... Hey, we'll have a little look.
This one just feels a bit stronger.
Yeah. There's a bit of pressure on mum to feed 2 big chicks, so we're trying to get them used to taking fish off the keepers, so they can start feeding for themselves. And they're starting to get there. It sometimes takes them a little while to really realise, that fish can come, from the keepers rather than just from mum. But as long as their weights are staying fine, to me, on the clinical exam they look very well. So I'm not too concerned, but it's going to be one of those just keeping a close eye over the next sort of few days as they sort of transition onto more fish from the keepers, hopefully. But no, at the minute, I think weights are looking good, conditions looking good. Yeah. Any change with him at all?
He's worse, but he's actively avoiding us now.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, Orion was not very well despite weeks of medication.
How are you getting on with the meds?
Not very well.
No, he's struggling. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other penguins have started to bully him a bit, but he is still sticking up for himself.
Okay. Yeah.
To see.
Yeah.
I'm in the place.
And he's not interested in the chicks, I take it, at the minute. No, he's not bothered, is he? No. You're gonna let me have a little look, eh? Oh, should move you a little further around, eh? Yeah, right. Hold him forward there. He's
We started to see he was a little bit kind of not quite himself in his personality. His feeding was slowly starting to reduce, but it wasn't uncommon for him to have weeks where he'd feed really well and then have a slow week. So and we just started to see him being a little bit less attentive with his chicks, who were a lot younger at that time, and then he's just gradually shown a little bit less and less of an interest in his family, and gone to kind of looking after himself a bit more and trying to get himself feel a bit better.
To me, he feels a little bit thinner than when I last.
Penguins have a thing where if one of them's not feeling too great, the other penguins like to jump on that and give him even harder of a time. So he's just been trying to keep himself to himself as well, so the other penguins leave him alone.
Yeah, little dude. Let's just have a little.
Just a little bit hunched, but there's been a weight loss.
Yeah.
He did have a bit of weight for weeks anyway. But...
He just sounded a little bit wheezier to me today as well. Okay. The bloods that we took from him were fairly unremarkable, to be honest. Right. There wasn't anything too obvious on those. I mean, it doesn't rule out things. I guess our suspicion's mainly still Aspergillus, which, if things got a bit too progressed too soon, whether we're actually going to be able to pull him around from it, I think is the other question. His proteins are getting quite low, which has been shown that it can be predictive of a worse outcome. Realistically, if we find a lot in there, there's, apart from the meds he's already on the antifungals, he's on the nebulizing, he's on everything else. It's going to be, where do we go from there? Yeah. Really, it's he's a difficult one. I mean, he's just sort of lingering at the minute, isn't he? He's not really doing. Yeah.
Going up or down, really.
They're difficult animals on the whole. I mean, birds in general, they do hide a lot of symptoms and hide any signs of illness until things are a bit more progressed. So trying to pick up those really early signs can be difficult, and it can be, like I say, like Bruce was saying, sometimes he'll go through, and all of them will go through phases where they don't eat as much, aren't quite as active, but it's picking up when that becomes more out of the ordinary for them. But they will mask a lot of clinical signs, and they're not the easiest of animals to to work with and to diagnose. But he's holding on in there, but it's whether we can get much more of an improvement from here. It might need a bit more work up, a bit more time, I think. But well, fingers crossed for him.
So just because he'd been so poorly the past few weeks, we've tried to get the medication into him, but he was just stopped eating, and the only other way is to force feed them it, which isn't very enjoyable for us or him. So we just asked Jack if he could have a look at him, just to see how bad it was and maybe if it was worth trying, but he did a scan and it was just looking really foggy and cloudy, so unfortunately, despite weeks of medication, he just wasn't improving. He was just really struggling to breathe, and we just decided to put him to sleep, unfortunately. We want to make sure that the animals here have the best welfare and aren't suffering at all. It's a shame. Orion was a big favourite as well. So yesterday we come into work, and to our surprise we had a zebra foal that had been born. We did know that Mum Zara was pregnant. We probably just weren't expecting it to arrive as soon as it did. Today when Jack come in, we just had a check over, and we saw it feeding, and Mum was being really attentive and all the things you really want to see.
No, they look nicely bonded already, don't they? It's the main thing, isn't it? It's been up, it's on its feet, it's feeding, it's
It's adorable. It's the cutest thing. It's so fluffy.
I can't see anything that would shout out to me that it's a boy, but it's difficult from this distance, isn't it? But keep an eye for if you see it. If you see it going for a wee, that's often the telltale sign at this point. From a distance, anyway. If you get close enough. Well, that first photo you sent with them both side by side, you could have said that's a 3-week-old foal, couldn't you? We're trying to stay as hands off as possible to start with. The foal and Mum, they're bonding in these first few days. It's really important that they have a good relationship, and that the foal's up and feeding from her and not feeling worried of us. But we're looking really well. The foal's got going, he's on his feet. There's no issues that we can see from a distance. There's not too much merit in us getting any closer than this unless we were concerned. We just interfere with things, we just stress them both out. But we're looking that the foal's nice and bright, that we're seeing the foal drinking regularly, making sure it's getting that colostrum, getting that milk in. Generally at this point, unless we were worried that there was a problem, we wouldn't go getting hands on yet. It's just not worth it. They both seem to be doing really well. Mum's doing really well. She's nice and protective over her foal, and they're both looking good. So for the time being, I'm really happy. They both look really well. The little skip's great, isn't it?